The Inventory and Purchasing module of Easy Maintenance allows users to track and control all inventory, including such things as minimum and maximum reorder points, inventory levels, inventory tracking, purchase orders, requests for quotes, vendors and vendor tracking, and much more. The Inventory and Purchasing module is set so that materials and parts used to complete work orders are automatically deducted from inventory levels. To illustrate this feature, I have brought to the screen a work order for which the work has been completed. This work order is ready to be closed out and saved into the history of the vehicle for which the work has been done. When I click on OK to save the work order, this dialog box appears, which reads, "Do you wish to update materials used inventory when the work order is saved?" I will click on Yes. By clicking on Yes, all material used to complete this work order is automatically deducted from inventory and all inventory levels adjusted. When I click on Yes, a second dialog box appears. This second dialog box reads, "Do you wish to update replacement parts inventory when the work order is saved?" Easy Maintenance draws a distinction between materials, which are defined as such things as quarts of oil, belts, or spark plugs, for example, and parts, which may be an entire transmission or engine. By clicking on Yes, if any parts, such as a transmission, were used in this work order, they will be deducted from inventory and all inventory levels adjusted accordingly. Before leaving this screen, it should be mentioned that the inventory section of Easy Maintenance can be set for minimum reorder points for each material or part. There are a variety of ways that new inventory can be ordered through the Inventory module of Easy Maintenance. However, if when working in a work order, such as in this example, updating replacement materials or parts causes a material or part to fall below the minimum reorder level which has been set, the operator will be given an opportunity right from this screen to issue a purchase order for more materials or parts if they so desire. Now, let's take a look at the details of how Easy Maintenance's Inventory and Purchasing module operates. To use the Inventory and Purchasing section of Easy Maintenance, the operator simply begins by clicking on the Inventory and Purchasing button on the main menu. This takes the operator to the inventory screen. At the top of the screen, you'll see the password of the person who is logged in to edit or set up the inventory section. Below that are 7 buttons: Inventory, Request for Bid, Purchase Order, Receiving, Vendor, Terms, and Preferred Status. Each of these is important to the inventory section, and we will deal with each of these buttons individually. Clicking on the Preferred Status button, which I will do now, brings us to an area where quickly and easily the operator can build a drop-down menu which is used when vendor information is entered later to rate the vendor. This rating feature, when there are multiple vendors for a particular material, can assist in vendor selection for the issuance of a specific purchase order. The Terms button, which we will now click on, allows an operator to enter the various terms that vendors offer when they bill under purchase orders. These terms go into a drop-down menu which is used primarily in the Vendors section. I will now click on the Vendors button, which takes us to this screen titled List of Vendors. This area allows for an operator, among other things, to locate a vendor by simply clicking, for example, in the Vendor ID circle and then typing in the vendor ID. Or the operator can click in the Vendor Name circle and type in the vendor's name. Once this is done, Easy Maintenance will automatically locate the vendor from this vendor list. The operator can also use the scroll bar to move up and down this list to find the vendor they are seeking. For ease of use, simply clicking on the column headings will sort the vendors either alphabetically or in numerical sequence. The buttons at the bottom of this screen allow for the entry of a new vendor, editing the information in an existent vendor profile, deleting a vendor, printing a vendor list, or printing vendor labels. We'll go ahead and look at a vendor whose information has already been entered. I will select this vendor and click on the Edit button. Clicking on the Edit button takes us to the Modified Vendor Information screen, where information already entered for a vendor can be changed. If the operator had clicked on the New button for entering new vendor information, they would be taken to a screen looking exactly like this one, only with the data fields blank, and would then have to enter in new vendor information. As you can see here, there's room for the address and other contact information, including email. The terms the vendor has for purchases made through them can be placed here, and the preferred status of the vendor can be selected here from drop-down menus. You can see there is provision here for entering multiple contacts for each vendor. There's also an area for notes that can explain peculiarities or other information unique to this particular vendor. In addition, a mailing label for this vendor can be printed right from this individual vendor's area. Clicking on the Inventory button brings us to this screen, the List of Inventory Items. This is the central screen for setting up inventory and in some cases checking inventory in and out. At the top of this screen is a Locate By function, where you can locate inventory items by typing in the item number or the inventory item name, or if you have barcoded your inventory, you can simply swipe a barcode and that inventory item will be highlighted on this screen. Directly below the Locate by Barcode area, you will see some key codes. These have been set up so you can quickly and easily determine the inventory level status of your various inventory items. These key codes appear for each inventory item under the flag heading on this central screen. N means you have a normal quantity level of a particular inventory item, and the quantity on hand appears in green. L means you have a low quantity based on the minimum reorder levels you have set for a particular inventory item. All such inventory items appear in quantity on hand in bright orange. D indicates that you are dangerously low of a particular inventory item, and all such items appear in red under the quantity on hand. From this screen, you can print a list of all of the materials entered into inventory. You can print a list of materials to order. These are materials which have fallen below the minimum reorder levels and were not ordered directly from the work order area. You can print this list of materials and issue purchase orders separately, which we will address in just a moment. From this area as well, you can print barcode labels for each inventory item if you so desire. There are a variety of ways you can check in inventory into the system, including against a purchase order. You can check out inventory in a variety of ways as well, and return inventory to the system should inventory be checked out and not used for a particular work order. The check-in, check-out, and return buttons on this screen allow an operator with a top-level password to check inventory directly into the system from this screen without going through a purchase order, check out inventory directly from this area, or return inventory directly to this area. The list of inventory items gives you a complete list of all items that have been entered into inventory, including parts and materials. Should you wish to sort these columns, you simply click on the column heading, and the items will be sorted either numerically or alphabetically. When you highlight a particular inventory item, below in the Transactions area, the operator can see all of the transactions, check-ins, check-outs, and returns that have been done for that particular inventory item. Directly below the list of inventory items, you see the New, Edit, Delete, and Reproduce Inventory Item buttons. The Reproduce Inventory Item button is used when you may have multiples of the same type of inventory which you wish to enter separately, reflecting different prices or different delivery dates or different expiration dates if the inventory is volatile and expires. The Inventory section allows the operator to enter a variety of information about each inventory item. Rather than clicking on the New button and filling out an inventory item from scratch, I'll go ahead and highlight an inventory item here and click on Edit so we can look at one that has been already filled out. Here is the informational screen for all inventory items in Easy Maintenance. To begin, there is the item number, which can be the serial number or an internal control number, but directly to the right you will find ID code 1 and ID code 2. This gives you multiple opportunities to put in identifier numbers. may be the manufacturer's serial number and your own internal control numbers. You can name and describe each inventory item and put in the date that the inventory item was originally entered into the system. The active box can be checked if something becomes active or inactive. You may have items in your inventory system which you don't wish to delete but which you are not currently using. If you have a large number of inventory items, making unused inventory items inactive does not remove them from your system but does take them off your listing of inventory items so your list does not become unwieldy. You can set the preferred vendor for this item by selecting a preferred vendor from the drop-down list and designate the manufacturer of this particular inventory item. The unit for a particular inventory item can be set to whatever you designate. As an example, some inventory items are measured in pounds and other inventory items are measured in length, and the unit can be set in this data field. The cost data field is designed for you to enter your cost for a unit of this inventory item. If you are working with outside customers and wish to mark up this item, you can put in a percentage of markup and have your retail price in the price data field. The long description data field allows an operator to type in a very lengthy description of a particular inventory item if such a description is warranted. The inventory type and equipment or vehicle data fields allow an operator to designate whether a particular inventory item is a material, such as a spark plug or quart of oil, for example, or a part, such as a transmission, and whether or not that item designation is applicable to both equipment or vehicles. The quantity on hand data field is for the entry of the initial quantity of inventory as it is entered into the system. The minimum level data field is for the setting of the minimum quantity of this particular inventory item you wish to have on hand. When that minimum level is reached through use of that inventory item, the operator will be flagged to create a purchase order to order more of this inventory item. The maximum level data field can be used, if appropriate, to set the maximum quantity of inventory you wish to have on hand. When this level is set, when a purchase order is created, if an order is being placed for more than the maximum level which has been set, the operator will be flagged. Alternately, you may wish to set a reorder quantity, a fixed reorder quantity, and this data field can be used for that purpose. The warehouse location data field can be used to set a bin location for an inventory item or any other location information you wish to enter. This completes our look at the inventory area and the setup of inventory. We will now move on to request for bid. When a user of Easy Maintenance wishes to submit a request for bid to a variety of vendors, the process is simple and easy. The user merely needs to click on the Request for Bid button, which takes the operator to this screen. As you can see, the screen is titled List of Requests for Bid. From this screen, an operator can find a previously created request for bid simply by scrolling up and down the list here, or by typing in a previously created request for bid number here, at which point Easy Maintenance will find it and highlight it in the list. This screen also allows an operator to create a new request for bid, to edit an old one, or to delete a request for bid. Since we don't want to take the time to create a brand new request for bid, we'll click on the Edit button and look at one that's been previously created. The information contained on the screen when we click on the Edit button will be exactly the same information that would be required to be entered if we were creating a new request for bid. Clicking on the Edit button takes us to this screen where you can see the information that is required to create a request for bid. The request for bid number is automatically generated by Easy Maintenance, as is the date the request for bid is created. Notes can be entered for consideration by the vendor, which apply to this request for bid. Down below, line items can be added as required of the items that the operator wishes the vendor to bid on. A new detail or line item can be added simply by clicking on New Detail, or details can be edited by using the Edit button or deleted by using the Delete button. Once a request for bid is completed, to send a request for bid to selected vendors, All that is required is to use this screen area here, which is a listing of all the vendors that have been previously entered into Easy Maintenance's vendor list, which we'll get to in just a moment. As you can see, each vendor's name has a box next to it. When that box is checked, that vendor gets this request for bid. So the operator can simply go through the list, click in the boxes next to the vendor's names to whom he wishes the request for bid to be sent, then simply click on the Print Request for Bid button, and a request for bid will be printed for each vendor designated. This is a very fast, easy, and efficient way to develop and send out a request for bid to multiple vendors. I will now click on OK and will move out of the request for bid area and go on to the purchase order. Clicking on the purchase order button takes us to this screen, the purchase order list screen. There are a few items on the screen I'd like to address before we move on to an individual purchase order. As you can see, this is a list of all purchase orders which have been created by Easy Maintenance. Highlighting a purchase order shows on this screen here what is on that particular purchase order. This area over here allows a purchase order to be found by PO number or by vendor ID simply by typing the information into this data field. When this is done, Easy Maintenance will find the purchase order the user is seeking. This area allows an operator to simply type in a start date and an end date, for example, a date over the span of a week or a month, and then click on Print. When that is done, a report is generated that shows all materials ordered under purchase orders which are to be delivered within the date range that the operator has selected. This is a very fast, easy, and convenient way to pull a report to project what materials are going to be delivered when. At the bottom of the screen are buttons for creating a new purchase order or editing an existing purchase order. This button labeled Report is a powerful management tool. A simple click on this button will produce a report of all open purchase orders for product which have not been delivered, the amount of the product and the value of the product, and the date when it was due. This can be extremely helpful in keeping track of scheduled shipments and overdue shipments. In order to illustrate how a purchase order is created, rather than create a purchase order from scratch, I'll go ahead and select one which has already been done and click on the Edit button. This takes us to the Modify Purchase Order screen. This is exactly the same screen you'll see when creating a new purchase order, except here the data fields have been filled out. As you can see from this screen, the purchase order number is filled out automatically by Easy Maintenance in sequence. And this screen also allows an operator to close a purchase order if all items have been delivered under that purchase order. This can be done here or from the receiving area, which we'll show you in just a moment. The purchase order date is the date the purchase order was created. Here's the vendor ID along with the basic vendor information. New details or line items on the purchase order can be added simply by clicking on New Detail or edited by clicking on Edit Detail. On the right-hand side of the screen, you see two tabs, Contact Info and Order Totals. The Contact Info tab contains the information for the vendor who has been selected for this purchase order. When the purchase order is created and a vendor is selected, this information autofills from the list of vendors already filled out. The Order Totals tab shows the total of the purchase order and any other FOB information. When the purchase order is done and ready to go, a simple click on Print PO will print the purchase order so it can be sent directly to the vendor. It should be noted that when a purchase order is created, the items ordered can be marked as to whether or not the vendor needs to supply a certificate of conformance or test data for the materials being ordered. I'll go ahead and click on OK here, and that takes us back to the purchase order list screen. We'll close out and move on to receiving. Clicking on the Receiving button takes you to this screen, a list of all the open purchase orders where materials have been ordered and have not been received, either all or in part. I'll go ahead and select one of these purchase orders here and click on the Receive button at the bottom of this screen. If the materials on this purchase order were ordered by a particular person, that information appears here. As you can see from the line items at the bottom of this screen, these items were ordered under the purchase order we are now receiving materials against. As you recall, there are two ways to receive materials, either here against a purchase order or directly into the materials inventory, which we covered previously in this demonstration. We'll select here a line item for which materials ordered have not been received. We will then click on Receive, which takes us to this receiving screen. Here's the material number, the description, and here we can enter a quantity received. From this screen, the operator also has the opportunity to create and print a barcode for this item. There's also a place here for an expiration date for this material, should this material be volatile. As I close out of this area, a dialog box appears asking, do you want to save your entry? In this case, the answer is yes. This purchase order will remain open since it is not totally delivered. In other words, the materials have not been received in full. The items actually received have been automatically entered into inventory since we received them against this particular purchase order. This button here, Backlog Variance Report, is a very important feature. Clicking on it will allow an operator to produce a variance report showing what was ordered and what remains to be delivered. This report can be used for internal tracking or sent to the vendor to make sure that all items ordered are delivered properly. We will now click on OK, click on Close, and move out of this area. This concludes our presentation of the Easy Maintenance Inventory and Purchasing module. We do appreciate your time, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.